Hey Walter, great that you are also here again.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Good, good. I thought to start with we could talk a little about puppets.
Oh, yes. Puppets. In a sense, they were always with me, since when I was a child. In my early work on the history of the German drama, I also dealt with the emergence and evolution of puppet theaters. Then I wrote some reviews covering books on puppets as toys. And eventually, in the context of the arcades project, I was interested in the relation between puppets and automata.
To be honest, I was only thinking of your thesis on the philosophy of history.
Oh, the thesis, of course. You mean the very first one, where I talk about the mechanical Turk, the fake chess playing machine devised by Wolfgang von Kempelen around 1770.
Exactly.
Well, my reasoning was the following. One can imagine a philosophical counterpart to this device, that is Kempelen's chess-playing machine. The puppet called historical materialism is to win all the time. It can easily be a match for anyone if it enlists the services of theology.
I admit I completely forgot about theology here. Do you really mean it should be understood as an equivalent to human chess player Camplin hid in the interior of the machine? I'm not sure, and perhaps this isn't so important. What I am interested in is the affinity between puppet and historical materialism that you put forth in your thesis.
I was quite fascinated with this aspect when I was working on the arcades project. Puppets are often children's toys. They are sweet, precious, and reliable, something like your best friend, or even the children's child. At the same time, puppets can be extremely creepy and uncanny, even for adults, especially when they are tall and consisting of wax, for example, or when being able to move themselves like automata.
I was also thinking of mannequins.
Sure, in Paris in the 1920s, mannequins were a topic the surrealists were extremely fond of. And I also thought they constitute a wonderful illustration of a basic principle of capitalismus, namely the transformation of living things into dead ones and vice versa.
Apparently, you also actively engaged with puppets as a child, but also as a grown up. At least there is a puppet show you authored in the 1930s.
True, but it is more something like a radio play. I did it in 1932, and the title was Radau Kaspar, which you can translate as Much Ado Around Kaspar. The basic idea, I confess, was a little self-referential.
In what sense?
Well, initially the project was to use the puppet figure of Caspar in order to explain the then new media technology of the radio on the radio and to describe there also its proper use. The story basically is that Caspar is invited to appear on a radio program. As I explained to him the functioning of radio technology, however, he then abuses this technology for rather personal stuff.
As far as I recall, Caspar uses it to publicly offend one of his friends.
Precisely. he does not understand that the radio eventually is, or at least could be, an interactive technology. Not just a distribution apparatus, but a communication machine, as my friend Bertolt Brecht also argued at that time.
That sounds extremely timely.
It probably was. The basic notion, and this is what the somewhat tongue-in-cheek title Much Ado Around Caspar points at, was to involve the audience in a kind of dialogue. The ado around Caspar mainly consisted in different sorts of noise. These noises provided the background for questions concerning the actual situation and or location of the play, and the audience was then meant to answer these questions by writing to the station.
Reminds me of what the Casper puppet does when he's talking to his audience.
Right.
Now, that was back in 1932. Since then, much has changed. For example, by the advent of Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube, where we are right now. So, according to you, is the internet something like the fulfillment of your visionary ideas concerning the functioning of media technologies as the crucial communication machines of society?
I wouldn't go so far. Sure, it is great to see that so many people are doing things on the internet, and how those who in previous time were just reading are starting to write, and how those who were mere spectators are turning themselves now into actresses and actors. With respect to the newspaper and the cinema, I've described something similar in my study on the work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction.
Do we really have to talk again about the loss of the aura?
I'm ready to postpone it, but let me point out at least that despite all the fantastic changes in media technologies and social communication, the basic principles of capitalism pretty much remain the same. And in order to understand this, we still need the puppet called historical materialism.